Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm excited about our conversation today.
Yeah, me too, actually. I think it's really interesting how many people don't understand where their phobias are coming from. So I love the kind of empowerment that comes from having this knowledge.
I love that. Absolutely. So let's just jump right in. So what is a phobia?
So a phobia is a type of synesthesia. It's like a miswiring in our brain between a stimulus and a series of sensory responses. So from the purpose of a phobia, it's not even a physical stimulus. The irony is it's actually a cognitive trigger, meaning just thinking about the thing that we're scared of can set off a series of emotions and a series of physiological changes in our body. Sweaty palms, butterflies in the tummy, sweating, flushing, a range of experiences. So it's quite fascinating that this comes all out of an imagined stimulus. It's not even real 90% of the time.
Exactly right. And why is it that a phobia doesn't diminish over time? I found that the older we get, even if we get a phobia later on in life, it's like it gets worse and worse as opposed to diminishing.
Great question, actually. So interestingly, most people, when they develop a phobia, aren't developing that phobia in youth. They usually develop it later in life. And the more time that goes on from the time of creation, the strength of the phobia actually magnifies. So rather than get softer, the more, in the sense that, rather than it disappearing since the last time that we were exposed to the threat, whether that be a rat, a spider, whether that be a fear of flying or, an actual fear of public speaking, whatever it is that the phobia is, rather than it lessening with avoidance, it actually magnifies.
Sure does.
So it's this idea that your brain registers the reason I am safe is because I haven't done said thing. I haven't been on a plane. It isn't, I haven't spoken in front of a group of people. So it actually, avoidance, which is usually the pathway or the behavior that people take on when they're scared of something, creates a loop feeding the belief back that it's okay, you are safe because of this behavior.
So it's basically the awareness is reinforcing the phobia.
Exactly. So it goes belief, shit, this is going to kill me.
Yeah.
Even when it's something simple. Like for me, I was scared of birds. Even a budgie can feel like it's going to kill you. I know that sounds absurd, but it's true. When you're in a state of phobia, it feels like it's actually the end.
It sure will.
So that's the belief. The thought is, okay, I need to avoid this. The next frame that comes is emotion. So you're like fear rushes through your body.
Yeah.
And then from that emotion comes this moment where you're actually disconnecting from the thing. So it's like, okay, behavior, run. Behavior, don't speak. Behavior, hide. Behavior, say no. Avoid going.
Yeah. Do everything in your power to not put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. And then what happens? The belief of I'm okay because I did said behavior of avoidance, of running, of whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
Very interesting.
So that's one of the reasons that just waiting, wishing and hoping that your phobia disappears is not really the most effective strategy.
No, definitely not. And I can say that personally from my fear of public speaking. Avoiding it only made it worse.
Totally.
Yeah, escalated.
And for me as well with my fear of birds. It actually got worse to the point where budgies, innocent little budgies became an opportunity for terror.
Yeah. Poor budgies.
I know, they did nothing wrong.
They did nothing wrong.
Anyway.
So how can someone take back control of their life if they feel like the phobia is actually controlling them?
Yeah, great question. And I think you and I are probably two great models to ask this question too, given that we have worked directly on our phobias. So there's two pathways that you can usually go down. Traditional methods of working on your phobia involve a technique called exposure therapy. So behaviorally, this is based on the assumption that the avoidance is strengthening the fear and the belief that this is bad for us. So by breaking that pattern of avoidance, we're going to take away that belief. And for some people, this can be really effective very quickly.
Had great success.
It's had great success. There's a lot of clinical evidence to support this. The danger of exposure therapy is for people that don't even trust themselves to be exposed to the phobia. It's almost like this doesn't exist. We don't even, for me, for example, I knew that this existed, but I was happier living in my reduced state of life with my phobia than actually exposing myself to the phobia.
I was the same. I wouldn't, like, there's Toastmasters out there, which is incredible, and I wouldn't join that because I wanted to avoid it.
It's great insight. So for some people, if that's their jam and like they're that scared of that thing, that phobia is genuinely really embedded, exposure therapy alone can almost seem too much. Even though there's wonderful techniques within exposure therapy to help you slowly acclimatize to that exposure. The other thing with exposure therapy is it can be pricey because usually there's more, to work at the pace that the client's comfortable, you're going really slowly. You might even start by just looking at a picture of a spider in a book. And then moving to a virtual reality headset. And then moving to thinking about touching one. And then moving to actually being exposed to one within a 5 meter radius with somebody next to you. That's the kind of logic. So it can be pricey and it can be time consuming. So what people can do if they want to regain control, it's something I didn't even know existed before I delved into the world of coaching myself. But there's some wonderful and really easy techniques within the space of NLP. Like one session wonders, 1 hour and you're done, blitz techniques that work with the phobia, not on a behavioral level, but on the neurological level.
I love that.
So it's like, how do we disrupt this neurological firing that happens between this and this? So this stimulus and this belief pattern, this thinking pattern in the mind, using a range of techniques that work, taking advantage, I guess, of neuroplasticity, not dissimilar to RTT. So interestingly, NLP, I know parts of what we do within NLP also forms part of what you do within RTT. And I personally experienced RTT as my phobia treatment, and it was amazing. And what I found really interesting about RTT is it doesn't even work on a phobia in a behavioral way or buying into the idea that the phobia is because of this stimulus.
That's right.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, so what I found is it's rarely ever actually about the phobia itself. Usually the phobia is there to protect you or to keep you safe, or it has its own sort of role or function and purpose in your life. So people come in thinking, I'm scared of birds, and they think they have why they're scared of birds because there was definitely evidence and definitely scenes that, oh my gosh, you think, oh my God, of course you're going to be scared of birds. That is scary. But in reality, it's never about that. It's actually so much deeper, and it really has a deeper meaning to why this phobia is there. And in RTT, we can really investigate that, unlock it, and transform it. It was crazy, actually. It was crazy.
I walked away going,
I was surprised. I was like, ooh. And that's what I actually love about doing anything with phobias, because it's such a surprise for the person to realize why they've actually been carrying this phobia the whole time.
And when you realize that, at least for me, it became so much easier to let it go. It almost became a choice.
It's
which is something I never felt before. I always felt like this was my defect or my flaw that I was carrying with me. And in that moment, it literally became like, okay, the power rests in me to decide if I want to carry this. And it was that simple. And in conjunction with the transformation that we did, it was incredible. Now, I've seen people do what you would call in NLP a phobia bust. I've seen people do that with individuals that are crying. I've seen people do that with people that never, ever, ever dreamed that they would be free of this phobia. And to see that transformation emotionally in somebody is incredible. So when you think about that and you combine the power of RTT and NLP in this kind of super session duo pack,
it's incredible.
It's really amazing, because there's not, I would put probably a money back guarantee to say that somebody that comes with a phobia that is not indirectly connected to perhaps something bigger like a trauma experience or something like that would possibly see a shift even after one session, but absolutely after 2 sessions.
They'll definitely see shifts. So it might, go from a 10, and people are different, right? Some might go to a 5, some might go to a 0. So it just depends on the person, but you'll definitely see a shift.
And what's cool about RTT, which I really love, like with NLP, it's almost immediate. You can test and see that your physiological response has shifted. So it's not to say you suddenly love the thing, because you don't.
You're not going to love it.
But your physiological response is discharged. That emotional charge that used to just come automatically is no longer there in the same way that it was. And that just gives you the freedom to choose what you do next. With RTT, it almost was even more seamless in that I didn't notice the shift. So I walked around the next day, and I was walking and I noticed a bird was next to me, and I'm like, I actually didn't register the bird
Yeah.
because my spider senses weren't trying to locate the threat that is that bird.
Yeah.
So it was so subtle that it actually became more obvious to me with time how more comfortable I was.
That's right.
To the point that I could then find myself chasing birds with my daughter. I could
Which is
see
incredible.
myself, taking her for walks alongside a duck, which I would have run from.
I know. I've been there many times. It's like everything had to
insane.
stop and hide and duck.
Yeah. So I love it. I love what we put together here.
I love it too.
And I really, really support it. And I just want to say, I guess, to anyone who's experiencing that level of perhaps feeling like they're not tapping into their full potential, feeling like they live in a semi-constant state of fear, or that there's areas in the world that they can't go to physically or emotionally because of what their phobia is stopping them from actually accessing. It's like freedom is literally right there.
It really is.
I really wish somebody had shown me this. Like, I'm not even saying this, like 5 years ago. It would have changed so much for me. Oh my goodness. Especially with how much I love the outdoors.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway.
The beach.
Yeah.
Seagulls.
So we've put together a phobia rewrite pack.
Yes.
Literally to give you an access of one RTT session and one NLP based coaching phobia intervention. We call it phobia rewrite because it's not like you're erasing the phobia, you're more so rewriting the script around this phobia.
Exactly.
So you get to choose what you want it to be, and that's what I liked about RTT. You asked me, do you want to love birds? Do you want to just not notice birds? Do you want to
it's being different?
Indifferent? What would you like? And so that was such a great way of giving me the control and the power as to what my relationship now looks like with my fear.
That's right.
So wonderful.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get to choose. Like, I can't make you love birds if you want indifference, right? So it's all up to you. You have the control of what you want to experience.
Yeah. And what's also cool is that there's like incidental healing that comes from this.
Of course there is.
Because in RTT especially, when you actually discover the root cause and where this phobia sits and what that function was, and you work on a subconscious shadow level to shift that, you're not just shifting the phobia.
No.
You're healing a whole space that has become bare because of this phobia and what that was protecting. It's so much more holistic than just working on removing the neurological connection, which is why I love the pairing of RTT and the NLP technique here.
Me too. I'm very excited.
Me too.
I'm very excited for anyone that decides to take this up and change their life.
Yeah, it's awesome. Just in time for summer and Christmas.
Nice Christmas present.
It is. It's awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for providing the space for me to shift this phobia for myself. It's been awesome.